Let's go take a look at the charts right now and see what's going on. Well, there is a couple of very important levels that we're keeping an eye on right now. So first and foremost, if you remember, we've been talking about this now for weeks, and that is these candles right here. The candle, the green candle to the upside from March 17th, and then the exact opposite candle from March 24th, the drop, right? So this level right here where these bodied candles closed has been a very important level because we were about to make new market structure. We were about to change with a new higher high. Unfortunately, when this price pushed up, we had that massive spike to the upside and the bear stepped in heavy. And unfortunately, we closed the bodies below those levels. So we did not get an official market structure change. We did not turn to bullish market structure. And we are about to do that now. So we have a weekly candle with 3 days and 24 hours left at the time of recording this video. We need to push and close a bodied candle above this level of $2.4379. So really $2.44. If we can get a bodied candle close, we're then going to have new bullish market structure kicking in, which is very, very positive for us. Now, a couple of other things to keep in mind here. Our weekly long-term momentum, which has been bullish this whole time, we've been talking about it, just had a hidden bullish divergence turn on just last week, which is just a couple of days ago when that candle body finally closed, this kicked on. So that's very, very bullish for us as well. Then on top of that, we have our short-term momentum wave. So we can see here on the weekly chart, we had been flat. There was a little micro fake out right here to the upside. And we had that week when we failed to break that level that we needed to, and then immediately failed back down to the downside, retesting off that bottom lows here. So the body of these candles down here, we can see price pushed to that level and luckily bounced back up. So we do have a new higher low, which is positive. So we have a higher low here. We're about to create a new higher high. But if we take a look at this level right here, where our shaft trend cycle, the short-term momentum wave, has really solidly pushed to the upside based off these last two weekly candles. Now, if we take a look last time when these had reset to zero, which was here, essentially zero is down at 3 on the shaft trend cycle, the red turned to green, and that's when we had our push to the upside. So we are in the midst of that. Now, what's important is after this weekly candle closes, that the white line, which is our middle term momentum wave, starts to turn up, because that's when we get some real momentum to the upside. We get lots of volume coming in when this one starts to tick to the upside. For example, as we look here at Bitcoins, they had reset to the bottom. Short-term momentum started kicking in, doing a good job. But then look at midterm momentum kicks in, and now we're starting to make that push to new all-time highs. And that was on top of a bearish divergence. We still surged through that level on Bitcoin. Same thing here with Ethereum. They had reset to the bottom. Boom, short-term momentum starts to kick up. Right here, we get our first initial move to the upside off of the closing of this candle, and boom, the massive surge starts to happen. So we are sitting bullish here. Now, what's interesting is on the weekly charts, we have not flipped bullish for Ethereum on the long-term momentum wave since all the way back here, which was November 11th, when price started making its run up to the 4,000s. We also have this massive bull flag pattern playing out for Ethereum, about to make its move to the upside. So the reason I cover that is because as you look at this move here, how strong and powerful that move was for Ethereum and how strong and powerful that move was for Bitcoin. Looking at XRP, we haven't had that strong and powerful move yet, but it is turning on looking at the weeklies. As we look at the daily chart, really good news. Our short-term momentums have surged to the upside, but take a look at this. This is what we've been waiting for. We haven't had this in quite some time. So our long-term momentum wave broke above the zero line, turning green, and this was back on July 2nd of 2025, and now it's starting to make its push up. Last time we had this happen was here on April 25th, when price was sitting at $2.16, and then it rode all the way up into $2.64. So as we take a look, yesterday's candle was a massive surge. The brand new candle has just opened up This is daily candles, which is different from the weeklies. What I mean by that is weekly still has 3 days and 23 hours left because we need to break this on the weekly candles. There's a very much possibility we break through this, come back, retest on the dailies, and really push it to the upside. But this, very exciting news to see this right here pushing to the upside for XRP on the daily. Let's take a look at the 3-day. The 3-day just had a breakthrough to the upside as well. And also our short-term momentum waves are starting to make its move to the upside. But let's take a look at where are we going, right? So that's another thing. So yes, obviously we need to break through this level, but there's going to be some resistance coming up. So let's switch over to the Heikin-Ashi candles. We are on the daily charts here, and we're going to be looking for supply and demand zones. So as we can see here, after this price pushed all the way up to these levels and then started having its pullback, the very last green candle on the daily chart is here. So this is going to be a resistance level. In fact, you can see right here when price came down, it surged up in there and then it finally made its way all the way down into that zone down there. So as we see this push, what I want you to keep an eye on, one is we got to break above this $2.44. Then we get into this box here. Now this is a really big box. So we have to push all the way above 265. But there is a little trick here. We can actually drop down to the 4-hour chart, go back to the initiation of this box, and we're going to just narrow it down to the last candle on the 4-hour charts, okay? So instead of the last candle on the daily, we're going to be looking. Now, this gives us a lot more optimism for where price is going to go, and we're looking at $2.55, and then we have $2.65 for the breakout. After that breakout, well, we got to find another time. Over here, we go a little farther back in history. We'll find this candle, last candle before the down move. Then we go back in history here. Let's just find the very top candle right here. So this is the top candle on the 4-hour chart, and that's where we're going to watch out. So now when we go into current times, we're going to see some good levels that we can pay attention to, and this is going to be nice. So we're going to break out. We're going to run into resistance here on this box, $2.56 to $2.65. After we clear that, turn that into a support, there's going to be some immediate resistance at 272 all the way up to 296. Once we turn that into support, then we have these. So we do have some interference on these charts on the way up, but right now we are looking good as far as momentum goes. Like I said, based on the daily long-term momentum's looking strong, weekly short-term momentum looks incredible. That is very good news. So those are the levels to keep in mind for XRP to the upside. Now let's talk about what about to the downside. Well, we do have some support levels here, which are nice. This is the last red candle before the up move. So $2.11 all the way to $1.90. Good support in this range because we also have this candle here, which is the same scenario. It's just a little deeper into the zone. So if price pulls back farther into there, then we could see $1.77 again. But right now, all this positive momentum news, these laws potentially passing this week. So I'm being very optimistic and bullish to the upside. However, to the downside, the most important level is $1.90. Right now, we have to break 244. Then after 244, there is this level here, which we'll be watching, which is $2.93. So if we cleared out all these boxes, I hope you took notes on those. I'm going to go ahead and take these down. These are our supply and demand zones. What we're going to see here, these are support and resistance zones that are in place that you're going to want to keep eyes on. Okay, so 244, we got to break through that, which looks like today it's got great momentum. We're already up today, going to surge up into here. Then we're going to run into this level here, which are these bodied candles closed, 292. All right, so that is traditional supply and demand zone, support and resistance. Now let's go look at our oddball, but very productive spider lines. All right, spider lines comes from Crypto Face over on YouTube as well. You can watch him. He says that if you are on the weekly charts and you're on Heikin-Ashi candles, if you take the tops of the candles on the way down and find a pivot point, which I found to be the best pivot point there is for XRP, is the high of the April 12th, 2021, the week of April 12th, and you take a ray, the ray tool, and you draw a ray from the top of this candle to the fulcrum point here in the middle, and then shoots out into the future. And it gives you support and resistance levels. And these have been spot on, actually. So take a look at this. So we've been talking about this one for weeks. This $2.25 needs to break that level. What's the next level? $2.55. Isn't that what we just talked about over here being $2.55 on that supply and demand zone? Yes, it was. So we know that that's a very key important level. Then after that, we have this level here at $2.88. Then we're going to run into some turbulence. After we get that turbulence there, we can surge up into here, these $3.56. Then we have $3.84. Now, these are more futuristic prices, but we could realistically see 383. I mean, if this same push up happens, 383 is easy. After that, we see this line here, $5.44. And these are all spider lines from XRP's historical values.